Good afternoon. I'm Eric LaRue, an American architect with a very small practice based here in Singapore, just over in Chinatown, and I will describe our project as Simple Factory Building. But before I do, let me just say two things. Firstly, we're very honored to be among so many talented colleagues and great projects. It's been an amazing experience for me. Secondly, we have sat through 3 days of lectures, all stressing values. My question to the jury, if I may, would be what would the values that WAF represents this year? Let me try to show you a few of ours. What I'm going to present for the next few minutes is a simple, even done, oops, sorry. What I'm going to present for the next few minutes is a simple, even dumb building. It's not flashy, expensive, or complicated. There are no cantilevers, floating volumes, or any bling. It's tiny, 1,000 square meters. It's built by the hand of 20 or so Bangladeshi laborers and a few Chinese on a tight budget. It uses simple materials and a basic layout for a generic warehouse a few miles from where we sit. But this piece of architecture is not without thinking. It's packed with intelligent ideas. It's simple, but not simplistic, dumb, but definitely not stupid. I will concentrate on 3 points. The building is calibrated to its context and atmosphere, yet not in the traditional sense of contextual. Rather, it is highly integrated into the tropics of Singapore. Second, it uses materials that are both heavy and light, old and contemporary, crude and refined. And 3, its massing, layout, and tectonics are straightforward, frank, and direct. I will hope you give another value to a way of making and celebrating architecture, as I do, an architecture of the uncomplicated, the elemental, and the carefully thought through. Let me begin this architectural story right away. The project is located in the center of Singapore, along the Ring City Plan, for those of you who know the island, just northeast of Singapore's Green Heart, the McRitchie Reservoir. The immediate site is a small pocket of 2-story industrial buildings surrounded by jungle-like greenery. It's a mid-block, typical terrace arrangement of flanking party walls to the left and to the right. The design is an elemental one, primarily conceived around 5 ideas: a veil or a deep envelope that wraps the building in section, a strategically placed core that masks the western afternoon sun, an empty center or a courtyard that brings in light, air, and ventilation, an open ground foyer that feeds and cools the architecture from below while doubling as parking, and is made of simple materials easy to fabricate and repair. Exploded oblique, it summarizes these major components of the design. Few in number, but all thoughtfully considered. That's it. This is the project in its entirety. Straightforward plan is coupled with a sectional complexity. The building is 4 stories high, yet 6-meter floor-to-floor heights give the total height of 24 meters. The height helps cool each of the levels. Looking up through the courtyard, 3 balconies protrude within a dramatic vertical space that doubles as a hoist shaft for lifting goods. A long, heavy core along the western elevation produces a defensive barrier to the oppressive afternoon sun that we find here in Singapore. These are all basic ideas for a clear and logical project. As has been for centuries in the tropics, before air conditioning, minimizing heat from the sun onto a building has been its most important challenge. And for us, it still remains crucial in our approach to make air conditioning a choice, not a necessity. To do so, the entire building is veiled. This is not surface, pattern play, or decoration. It's a spatially thick, 1.4 meter deep wrapper. The thickness allows it to operate performatively, shielding the building from the sun. Yes, it minimizes solar loading, though it also restricts views from the street while producing an anamorphic pattern, creating the illusion of a scaleless building. At lower levels, closer to the street traffic, the veil is tighter, though it opens larger for more dramatic views onto the landscape at the upper levels, where there is a large office space. Now, I'd like to tell you I spent months coding the perfect script to conceive of this deep envelope. I didn't. Rather, I looked to optical art, painting, and my most trusted computer tool in my arsenal, Illustrator, great for testing out intuitions, ideas, and patterns. This isn't to say we weren't using contemporary technology. Complicated tapered extrusions were three-dimensionally modeled and sent directly to fabrication. Through a series of simulations and calculations, we were able to reach an envelope thermal transfer value of 37 watts per meter squared. This exceeds the platinum standard for green mark buildings, commercial buildings here in Singapore. So I should add that the client did not proceed with certification because of the project's small size. Deep veil is composed of two parts: a layer of window wall of bronze-reflected laminated glass, similar to what Mies used in his Seagram building, and a 400 millimeter trellis screen fabricated in lightweight EIFS. All the cutting was done on a computer hot wire cutter out of EP blocks, though I'd like to tell you this is sexy new technology. In fact, it's really old stuff, simply known as Drive-It. From those of you from America, Drive-It conjures images of the worst of strip malls, generic shopping marts, and my favorite, Walmart, but it's not all that bad. It's easy to cut, repairable, and a Class O fire rating, and cheap. So in this case, its association with cheap buildings is transformed into a tropical application symbolizing performance and design refinement. Simple reinforced concrete construction and minimum petroleum membranes on the roof only. The building minimizes its impact when the building is likely to be redeveloped in the near future, a typical occurrence in Singapore, where an industrial building lasting more than 30 years is a great anomaly. The entire roof is a collection tray for rainwater that operates as the gray water flushing and irrigation system for the project, while providing beautiful views to the tree canopy beyond. Exterior lighting follows the anamorphic pattern across the facade and carport, illuminating the building as a lantern, lit from within the thickness of the envelope. The design reasserts the tropical screen, or veil, as a resistance to the temperate and transparent architecture. The glass walls that we see all around the central business district of Singapore and throughout much of Southeast Asia in general. This is a rough building. Concrete is crude, algae grows on it, dirt accumulates on the off-white facade, but for me, it looks good, it feels good, and it belongs on the equator. Indeed, the design borrows much from the straight settlement shop houses found throughout Singapore and Peninsula Malaysia: high ceilings, a courtyard, trellis components on the facade, and party wall structure, all simple yet important influences for this larger project. For me, the building also recalls the brise soleils of Le Corbusier in tropical India and the experiments of James Ferry and partners' Wing on Life building from 1975. It's one of my favorites, just over on Cecil Street here in Singapore, though we make the design relevant today through digital fabrication and lightweight materials. A simple factory building, simple but not simplistic, dumb but not stupid, not flashy or expensive or complicated, just a few smart design solutions that emerge out of the context of building here in Singapore, crafted, composed, and considered very, very carefully. Thank you.